Myself, M. Karthik Kumar Reddy, working as an assistant professor in Nalla Narasimha Reddy Education Society's group of institutions in the Department of Civil Engineering, here in the Foundation Engineering subject, in Unit 1, Subsoil Exploration. So, here I am going to discuss about geophysical exploration. So, there are three types of geophysical exploration. One is seismic reflection survey, another is seismic refraction survey, and seismic crosshole survey. So these are mainly depending upon the position of the receiver and the source. It can be seismic downhole survey, seismic uphole survey. So I will discuss about these three, that is seismic geophysical exploration. Now the question is, why it is called the seismic? Because the procedure of this seismic, first I am talking about the seismic reflection survey. So the procedure is that if there is a source where we are generating some waves and we are placing some receivers which are called geophones at different intervals, and from this source the wave which is generated will be received by the receiver. So these receivers we are also placing on the surface and the source is also on the surface. So how these waves are received by the receivers? It is received by the reflection of the ray from the soil to different soil layer interface. So because as we had two different soil layers, so this ray will reflect from this interface and we measure this reflected rays as per time period. At what time these rays are received by the geophone after it is generated from the source. Now this, which is what is called as seismic, because when there is the earthquake there are different types of waves are generated. So there are mainly two types of waves are generated. One is the body wave and another is the surface wave. Now these body waves are two types. One is the P wave or primary wave and S wave or the shear wave or the secondary waves. So here basically we are generating these body waves in the source. So either waves generating P wave already generating the S wave. So in this, why these waves which are generating the seismic during the seismic activity or the earthquake. So it is called the seismic reflection survey. So here you can see that how these waves are generated. So waves are generated, there is a possibility that we can do a small explosion. So we can do a small explosion, we can make some hammer blowing. We can see that generally this is a common technique. Use this is a plate where we are placing a hammer in this way, and these are the geophones on the left side which are placed at certain intervals. These geophones are receiving the time required to travel this wave from the source to the receiver or the geophone. So these are basically measuring this time. So now if I apply the hammer blow in this way as shown in the figure, then the wave which is generated is rich with P wave or the primary wave. Now if I apply hammer blow and different way, like suppose we have an iron block and we are applying and we are applying this hammer in this way. So we are placing this iron block on the soil and we are applying the hammer blow in this side of the iron block. Then the wave that will be generated will be reaching the S wave. So this will give the P wave and this will give the S wave. This is rich with P wave. So either depending upon how we are generating the wave, we can measure the P wave or the S wave. What we are measuring actually, we are basically measuring the velocity of these waves, either P waves, primary waves or S wave, that is secondary waves or shear waves, and the thickness of the soil layer. So first I have discussed about how these things we can measure, how we can measure these wave velocities and the thickness we have to derive expression. So let us derive these expressions. Then we will understand how we will determine this velocity of the waves and the thickness of the soil layer. And from the velocity of the wave, we can determine other soil properties like shear modulus of the soil or the bulk modulus of the soil. So let us discuss about how we can measure this property. So first, suppose this is a ground surface. About how we can measure this. This is the ground surface. So this is the wave. What is the source? And here we are having one geophone, that is the receiver. That is S is the source and R is the receiver. And we have another soil layer. Means we are going to have two soil layers. Soil layer 1 and layer 2 mentioned. We can generate the P wave or S wave depending upon how we are applying the hammer blows. So suppose in this derivation I am generating the P wave. So we will take velocity of the P wave, and if I generate in another way by putting the iron block and apply the hammer blow inside of the block, then that will generate the S wave. But here I will derive all the equations by considering that we are generating the P wave. But if we generate the S wave, then the velocity of the P wave will replace the velocity of the S wave. Means velocity of P wave will be replaced by velocity of S wave. So now this is the layer 2 shown in the figure, and we assume that the velocity of the layer 1 is Vp1 and the velocity of the layer 2 is Vp2, and the thickness of this layer is Z. Now this is the second layer interface. Now when there is a source and when there is the infinite number of waves will be generated in the infinite direction, because this is a wave will not generate in one particular direction, it will generate in different directions. So we will consider one particular wave, so that we will go directly from one area to other area. So this one possibility that waves will be traveling from from source to receiver, S to R, and the receiver directly receives from the S, and if this is the distance, say x or x suffix n. So we can measure what we are measuring, means we are measuring the time required, this direct rays to travel from S to R. So if we measure the time, geophone will measure this time. So that means if I measure this time, the velocity of the first layer Vp1, so that it will be equal to xn divided by T suffix d. T suffix d is the direct time required to this wave to travel from S to R. So this wave we can determine what is the velocity of this wave in layer 1, so that we can measure. That means here xn is known, Td will measure through the geophone, so we will get the velocity of the first layer. And this xn is known because we can place geophone as a known distance from the source. Now there is another wave. This will come here and it will reflect. That way, there is another wave which will come down from S to center, and it will reflect back. It will go and receive by the geophone. So I have discussed the wave because of the position of the geophone. If I change the position of the receiver or the geophone, then a different wave we have to consider, but the things remain same. So this is why we suppose that this is the angle I. So this is the reflected rays. That means we are measuring this reflected rays. Now if I call this will be x suffix n divided by 2, and this is the Z. So I can write that tan I is equal to xn, that is tan I is equal to xn divided by 2 into Z, because this is I inclination, that is xn, so tan I will be xn by 2 divided by Z. So now similarly we can write that, so you can write SO equal to RO is equal to square root of Z square plus xn by 2 whole square. SO equal to RO equal to square root of Z square plus xn by 2 whole square. Now the time required of this reflected rays. T means D means the direct, R means the reflected. Now times required for this reflected rays will be equal to 2SO divided by VP1 because SO is equal to RO in the previous expression. So 2SO divided by VP1 into square root of Z square plus XM by 2 whole square. So the Z will be equal to half square root of over VP1. So this will be equal to Z is equal to half square root of VP1 TR whole square minus XN whole square. So rather than we are using one particular value geophone, if we use n number for the more than one geophone, and there is a possibility of the error will reduce. So that is why we are using one geophone. We will use n number of geophones. Now if we use the n number of geophones, then in that case, if I draw a particular graph, that graph will represent a xn and the t may be direct, t will be reflected. So in this is xn will indicate the position of each geophone. So this is R1, the starting R1 in that case. This may be R2, R3 to R4. So in this figure R shown that there is a number of geophones we are placing with certain level. So now in that case, every geophone, in case of every geophone we will get this type of expression. So what will happen is that for every geophone there is a direct ray and there is a reflected ray. So now we have basically three expressions. Basically we have two expressions, that is, so similarly this is our TD1 and TD2 and TD3. So we'll get a straight line. We are getting the best fit figure curve, so possibility of the error will be reduced. Now what will happen once you get this curve? So the slope of the curve will be 1 by Vp. The slope of this curve will be given by 1 by Vp1. So instead of using a particular geophone data, so if we have number of geophone data, then we draw these points in a graph x versus t. Then we will get a straight line. So this will represent the equation number 1, and if I get the slope of this curve at this straight line, it will give me the 1 by Vp1. Now next one, if I draw the similar curve for equation number 2, then I will get, by using a different color, if we choose a different color we can represent easily. So I will get a curve which is in this form. So this will represent equation number 2 because this forms the expression. So this will give TR versus XN. So this line and equation 2 will give you a high parabolic curve. Now from here, if I extend, I will get the z value. So if I extend, so suppose I will get this curve up to this point. So if I extend this curve here, so this will give us a value which is TR0. TR0 is a value. TR0 is a value where the xn is equal to 0. Now if I put this value here in this expression, so there I will get z is equal to half root over Vv1 by TR0. Z is equal to half square root of Vp1 TR0 whole square. Then the final expression will get as half Vp1 TR0. So from here I will get the z value from the curve. Now there is a problem of this test. So we have to measure two different rays travel time. One is the direct. So we have to measure two different rays traveling time. One is the direct ray, another is the reflected ray. So this is the problem because here there is a difficult task now. So which one is the direct ray and which one is the reflected ray? When we go into the field, we can know what is the direct ray and what is the reflected ray. So that is why we have to remove this limitation. we'll go for the seismic refraction test. Another one, that is a test, whatever we are doing, we are measuring the thickness of the first layer and the velocity of the first layer. So if there is n number of layers, then our seismic refraction rays is more suitable. So I will discuss that about the seismic refraction ray surveys in that next class. So in this class, so this is one limitation, we have to measure second expression, where TR square is equal to 4 by V11 square of Z square plus Xn by 2 whole square. Then TR square will become Xn whole square by Vp1 whole square plus 4 by Vp1 square into Z square as equation 4. And final equation we'll get by drawing graph between TR whole square and Xn whole square, where you will get final equation as TR square equal to 4Z square by Vp1 square, where Z square is equal to 1 by 4 T R naught square Vp1 square.